What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Club Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Mathews, a.k.a. bgizzle.
Hey, it is your co-host, Rick Masters, that does it the most. Y'all know what it is. Hey, we got the black shirts, the red shirts, the white shirts, and we also got the white takes, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast shirts for $25 a pop. Hit up me at bgizzle, at Rick Masters 23. Back to you, bgizzle.
Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Before we get started, let's go ahead and introduce our new guest right now. We have guests all the time on the Pull-Up Show, and we like to bring anybody in that knows basketball. So what we have right now is our old former high school basketball team, one of our point guards, you know what I'm saying, doing his thing in business, but he also is a basketball dude. You wanted to come on the show. Mr. TJ Pleasant, bro. We're happy to have you on the show, bro. So tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you do and stuff like that.
Yes, sir. So to the basketball world, you can call me TJ, you know, Mr. Number 3 or number 5. In the music world, they call me Dooney for those who gonna be tuning in, you feel me? And then in this business world, I'm actually going by Terrance. You know, I'm switching it up a little bit. I'm getting a little, I don't even want to say corporate, let's say commercial. You know what I'm talking about? So, yeah, man, I'm happy to be on the Pull Up Podcast, you feel me? I've been watching y'all from afar. You know, got a chance to meet with my brother bgizzle not too long ago. We had some phenomenal business conversations, and I say, hey, don't forget about that basketball limit. So, you know, I'm just grateful to be here, and let's get it rocking, man.
Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? But that's great business. You know what I mean? TJ, for me, is the reason why my finances is going to grow even exponentially because there's certain things that he has told me about, you know, investing in business and saving. So
yes, sir.
I'm just grateful to have him. So, you know, I have to pull him up on the show. So Rick, TJ, two topics we got today. We're going to talk about Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and then Kwame Brown and Gilbert Arenas. So the first subject, Michael Jordan, arguably the best player of all time with the Chicago Bulls, won 6 championships, and Scottie Pippen, his former teammate, arguably his best teammate of all time, have gotten to a little bit of a rift in recent years. Basically, you know, as old teammates and stuff like that. Rick, what do you kind of think about what's going on between these two?
I mean, to be honest with you, bgizzle and TJ, like, I think when I got through watching, you know, The Last Dance, YouTube videos, things of that nature, man, I honestly feel like, okay, I'm just going to say it. Scottie Pippen, he can't accept accountability. Like, he made the choices he made. So when he made that $7 million contract deal, when people were kind of telling him to wait it out, he signed it anyway. Now, granted, I know his back, he hurt his back, so you really can't, you know, put that against him because an injury is an injury. But then he got mad about, I think, was it Kukoc or Kukoc making that last shot when Phil Jackson wrote up the play for Kukoc. And it just shows some diva tendencies. And it reminds me of LeBron James a little bit. I'm just saying. But you know, Scottie Pippen, man, I really feel like he can't accept that he did those things, or at least he don't like the way it looks, you know, because all Jordan did was just put it out there. He just put the truth out there. And I think sometimes you have to go back and look at yourself when you were younger, sometimes it's hard to swallow that. You know what I mean? And instead of handling that like a more mature person, I think he just kind of let his feelings get the best of him, and it kind of just squabbled everywhere and touched in different realms, and he said some crazy things. And so now we're here. So what you think, bgizzle?
Let me get TJ's point of view first, and then we're gonna go to me at the end. Let's go ahead, TJ.
Yeah, I feel that. B Masters. Man, it's a lot to unpack here, bro. I got a couple of thoughts, right? So my first thought is just going back to The Last Dance, right? From what I've seen, Scottie has made different statements about how he thought The Last Dance would be totally different, right? It would be a team collective. It would be shining the light on a team in that last season with the Bulls. Now, if he was involved in contributing with the documentary and it didn't come out the way he thought it came out, that would be one thing. But I believe when you're on the outside looking in and you're not involved with that process, you cannot knock Michael Jordan in this particular case for how he's seen his vision for the documentary that he was involved in, right? And from a fan's perspective, as much as we wanted to see the last season, it's unanimous that majority of us really respected and appreciated that 10-part docuseries leading up to the last season, right? Nobody was complaining saying it's too much of the historical. We need the last season. No, bro, that was a great, well-documented 10-part. That's a 10-part docuseries, bro. So there's no way. I mean, I guess you can stretch 10 parts with one season, but who wants to really see that, right? So if it's a 10-part, and on top of that, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 episodes where history is history, right? I mean, there were certain things that Scottie may not be proud of to this day that it still hit the light of day, right? But for the majority of that, bro, Scottie was respected in that documentary. The light may not have been on him as much as he would have liked, right? And that leads me into my second point. He dropped that book. I have not read it. I only have seen certain little statements here and there. So maybe he expanded on some of these things, right? But with the exception of that, he made one statement and he mentioned something along the lines of Michael Jordan ruined the game of basketball, right? Prior to Michael Jordan, it used to be a team game on the blacktop. When Michael Jordan came around, basically the ball stopped with him and everybody wanted to be like Mike. And what that was instilling in the youth is that you don't need to pass the ball, you don't need to rebound, nor do you need to defend the best player. Now, this is what time does. Time and notoriety. This is what time notoriety does. To your point, B Masters, because so much time has elapsed, when you see certain things over and over and over again, you can probably get asked the same question 10 times. It only takes that one time where it comes off as hating for it to just go viral, right? And for Scottie, I feel like for him to have that narrative, I honestly feel like as a man, you have to have those you have to have one-on-one conversations with Mike, right? If you claim that you're his best teammate and all this and that, I feel like those type of conversations, if you can say it in his face, then for sure, say it in the public eye, right? But I feel like he never told Mike, you ain't defending the best player and all this and that. They won 6 championships together. Them folks was playing their roles, right? It was all good in the 90s. It was all good. And the last thing I'll say is this. I honestly believe that Scottie has a lot of personal things going on in his life. You know, I don't want to speak too much in depth, but I definitely know like that divorce and Larsa out here being an Instagram IG model. They have a whole son that's playing collegiate basketball. Like that's psychologically that could mess with a man for real. So with those feelings deep inside, and you also are an on-air personality, right? So it's hard to tuck away this energy, and sometimes you channel it in the wrong direction, right? You channel it in the wrong direction. And so now when Michael Jordan is getting brought up, who knows? Maybe he feels less of a man at home. Maybe he's, feel less of a man to his kids now. Maybe who knows what he feels, right? And then now you got the documentary coming out at the same time, and now you got memes coming out. And so now he's channeling that energy towards Mike when it could have been a sit down. And lastly, it just lets you know how much they did not have a relationship off the court, right? That seems like a relationship that was just on the court. They did not have a relationship off the court, because these type of conversations he wouldn't even be talking like this, right? Or if he was, he would say something along these lines. Yeah, I even told Michael Jordan. So what I'm about to say, I already told Mike. So this is no surprise to him. But I'm gonna let y'all know what I feel. That's respectable. Because Mike already know. And I said the last thing 2 times. Let me just say last thing one more time. When he mentioned that Scottie said, and this was from the book, the little excerpt. Michael Jordan caught wind of Scottie Pippen feeling a certain way. Michael Jordan reached out and said, hey, let's talk. Scottie said, I was busy that day. My schedule was jam-packed and I knew I had a lot to unpack. So I told him I'll hit him tomorrow. That was the end of that statement. Again, I didn't read the book, nor did I hear him expand on it. So I don't know if that conversation ever got held, but it lets me know what type of man MJ is. Oh, I heard you got a problem with the doc. Let's talk about it. What's the issue? So Yeah, bro, it's a lot to unpack there, bro. It should have never came to that. But then again, bro, in this day and age with social media and then all the microphones and the media and things of that nature, bro, I'm definitely not surprised.
Good analysis, you too. You know what I'm saying? Let me say this. If you allow a person to talk long enough, they'll expose who they really are. You know what I'm saying? Cut the grass, the snake will show. And for the most part, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen been doing a lot of this, talking. Michael Jordan's been sitting back doing a lot of this, observing. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just not say a word. But at the same time, when, TJ brought up the whole point when Jordan said he wanted to talk to Scottie Pippen, for the most part, Jordan ain't really said nothing. Now, going to Scottie Pippen, his feelings and his emotions, if we go down the timeline through the documentary, you can see different instances where Scottie Pippen has just been selfish, or he's been on his own agenda, or he's done things that's been childish. The whole thing with Tony Kukoc getting the last shot of the game, didn't want to go in. And then the whole point of the reason that he said it is because Phil Jackson was a racist. Now, that's a very powerful claim to make, that somebody is a racist. So for you to do that, you need to have some concrete evidence. Now, throughout Phil Jackson's coaching career, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, none of his big stars have said anything about him being a racist. So to me, Scottie Pippen is just saying shit out of his ass to get a point across and really just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to try to sell my book. And if it means selling Phil Jackson, he's a racist, then so be it. So that tells me a lot about his character, that he still has a childish character and he hasn't learned about how to, communicate with different men and also know how to get his point across without being like backstabbing. Now, Jordan comes off to me as a person, once you cross him, it's pretty much done. We saw the instance with Charles Barkley. Him and Charles Barkley fell out for a little bit because I guess there were some comments Charles Barkley made on live television saying that Michael Jordan wasn't really a good owner. I had no problem with what Charles Barkley said because he said it directly. But Jordan's the type of person, if you don't tell him privately, or even if you do tell him privately he don't like it, there's a chance he will fall out with you. So this whole situation with him and Scottie, I don't see Scottie Pippen coming back from it. TJ, you just said it pretty clearly. They didn't have a good relationship off the court anyway. I think Michael Jordan was all about winning, and he had to make a way to make Scottie Pippen come to his level. And I think there was a lot of mental strength tactics that Michael Jordan did to his teammates that kind of, traumatized Scottie Pippen a little bit. I think Scottie Pippen, being a little bit more softer, weaker mentally, and the tactics that Michael Jordan put on him, it kind of traumatized him a little bit. And he's getting back at him now. I don't think he ever really liked Michael Jordan. I don't think he really wanted to say Michael Jordan is the best player of all time. I just think that he looks at him like with a side eye, a little bit of an envious eye, jealous eye. And this book that he's making right now, he's trying to get sales. So he's going to say whatever he needs to say to sell that book. And I just think when I heard that whole comment about him talking reckless in his book, I ain't read it either. It's just like, man, like you could have really had a conversation with Mike, personally, and this could have all been avoided. But I don't think Scottie Pippen wanted to be a civil conversation. I think he wanted to be some type of toxicity to it, because that's what's going to make that book sell. But let me ask y'all this one last thing. So, Rick, where do you think this is going to end up from here on out?
Hey, I think you already said it. And I like how TJ already pointed out that they really didn't hang out like that off the court, man. That was pretty obvious. But, bgizzle, I think, like you said, man, Jordan done. I mean, he kind of shows you in his persona, like you said, you brought up a good point with Charles Barkley, how he treated him. And I think him and Charles been friends for like more than 20 years. And literally, it's like after he said what he said, chopping block, bro. So I feel like the same gonna happen to Scottie. I mean, I don't see no difference. You know what I mean? But what you think, TJ?
Man, bro, I think one, if Scottie didn't like that documentary, I think he should create his own, right? From his own narrative and highlight the things he want to highlight, because clearly he feels like he's underappreciated and underloved, although his accolades will tell a different story, right? So going forward, outside of the book, I think that would be something wise for him, just in his maturity. That way he can get over certain things he needs to get over. I think people like Mike and Kobe, you know, you got a lot of NBA players and people in general, right? They got best friends and friends this and friends that. Kobe and Mike never really talked about best friends or nothing like that, right? I honestly feel like you had to go into their world. And I think Kobe and Mike cut from the same cloth, so I used them too. But specifically for Mike, I think if you had his same interests, I think the relationship outside of the court could grow, right? You like gambling, you like golfing, you like other sports, you like the competitive nature. I think he'll hang with you. I think they could have built that. But from what I see on the outside looking in, that's definitely not Scottie's personality, right? And so the personalities just didn't match. Great teammates, but from a personal standpoint, personalities just didn't match. And so I believe when you have a teammate that's so great and that's getting so much shine, if you are really buddy with him, right? Like LeBron, majority of his teammates like LeBron because LeBron is a well-liked guy, right? He has a personality that's welcoming and that's open. And that's when you're off the basketball court, it ain't even no, and I'm not saying he's not competitive, right? I'm sure outside of sports, he wants to win things, but it's not to the extent of Mike, right? In terms of what's been documented. So I think when back to Scottie, when you're looking at Mike and he's getting all this recognition, although you feel like y'all basically did the same thing, right? That's kind of how you feel like Mike basically did what I did. Like 1-6, I had my role, he had his role, right? I think when you see your teammate getting so much shine and you can't share it with them, I think he really yearns for that relationship. He really wanted Mike to take him under his wing and be that big brother and big mentor. And that's just not Mike's personality. So when you start bringing up from Scottie's standpoint, you start bringing up other teammates who have said how the same thing about Mike that you saying, bro, that's, and I know we're going to talk about the Kwame, but that's essentially what Kwame talking about too, just like bringing other people into it. Bro, what about our relationship? What did I do to you, bro? What have I said about you? Anytime I've talked about Scottie, it's been great. As far as the Last Dance documentary, bro, the footage is the footage. And I can only narrate and analyze the footage that we're talking about. So when they was talking about the back injuries and things like that, bro, Mike is expressing how he felt back in the 90s at that time. So because they don't have a relationship outside of the court, it's almost as if he's talking in 2021 language back when it dropped, or 2020 when it dropped. It felt like it was being attacked. And so just going forward, man, as far as their relationship, just seeing that Mike reached out and said he would at least willing to converse, I honestly think Mike is down to converse. Like, again, Mike isn't, in my opinion, and it seems like in Mike's opinion, he didn't do nothing wrong. He actually is interested to understand what's going on with Scottie. So I think if they ever was to sit down, I totally think Mike is open to that. I really do. As far as a relationship or a brotherhood, I don't even think it have to go that far. I just think as a former teammate, he would like to understand what his problem was with the last Dance documentary. I don't think Scottie will take that role because I think Scottie has already expressed so much to where when he closes that door at the end of the day, and this could be wrong, but I just feel in my spirit that he know he wrong. He knows sometimes he get loose with the lips, and he probably could have said it in other ways that didn't come off like that. So for that standpoint, I don't see Scottie like backtracking and wanting to even have a conversation with Mike, because he said some things that I don't think he's prepared to like face Mike with. And so with that being said, bro, I think Scottie gonna continue to do his thing. And last thing, I really hope this doesn't have a negative impact on Scottie Pippen Jr., because he's over there in Vanderbilt, and sometimes let's just say in this case, your father is doing, it could potentially be even overshadowed. You feel me? It's overshadowing little Scottie. And then you got the mama situation. It's just a lot for little Scottie. And you got to think about that too, bro. Like LeVar, he was positive when he was speaking. It was all about his kids. I haven't heard Scottie Pippen say nothing about Scottie Pippen Jr. And that man is in college. He's still talking about other stuff. So yeah, it's a lot, bro.
And to that point, that tells how a lot of he is as a family man. if you didn't mention your kids who's in college already playing ball, doing good, that tells a lot about their relationship. And the last point I'll say about this, a person will always tell you when they happy, when they sad, when they angry, when they upset, but a person will never tell you when they envious of you. They will never tell you when they jealous of you. And we can all agree that Scottie Pippen has some enviness towards Michael Jordan for years.